Welcome to What a Creep, the show with Margot Donahue and Sonia Mansfield talking about creeps from the past to the present.
This is your quick guide to the biggest creeps, jerks, assholes, and losers, the best of the worst.
From two nice ladies who want the world to be a little less creepy. Welcome back to What a Creep. This is Margot Donahue, and my cohort in creepitude, as always, is the amazing Sonia Mansfield. Hey, Sonia.
Hello, my friend.
Hello, my friend. We are the podcast that talks about creeps from the past to the present. We have a comedy creep today. In case you're new to the show, you should also know that we always end the show with someone who's not a creep, and I think y'all are going to like our non-creep this week.
I think so, too.
We're always looking for suggestions, so you could try with the Facebook page. We have a basic Facebook page, but that's where people go to complain about our language. Let me just warn you right now, we use salty language, but also like the topic today is kind of intense, so just keep that in mind if you have kiddos, you're driving around or whatever.
Yeah, I'm going to say the word dick a lot, whether I'm talking about his last name or just in general.
His behavior.
Yeah, dick. What a dick.
That was going to be the podcast episode. That was going to be the name, but we are much more interactive in our private Facebook group. So you have to type in What a Creep podcast group and ask to join. And please just promise not to be an asshole. And that's where we hang out and we talk about creeps in the news and we talk about pop culture, all kinds of fun things. We're on Twitter at CreepPod because somebody had What a Creep for 10 years on Twitter and never used it. You just do it again.
Great.
Oh, there you go. We're on Instagram and Threads and Blue Sky, What a Creep Podcast. And our email is whatacreeppodcast@gmail.com. Please send us your suggestions for creeps or for non-creeps. And also, if you would like some stickers, and I sent out a bunch of stickers this week,
Woo!
Send us your address via email and we will get them out to you wherever you are on the planet of Earth. That's what we use our Patreon money for, really.
Yes. Yeah, it's true.
Do you want to tell them about the website?
Yeah, go to whatacreeppodcast.com and it's everything you want to know about our podcast, but we're afraid to ask. You can go and click on each episode, and in each of those posts are show notes because we source every single thing we do. We're not making this shit up. We want to give people credit for the work they do. That is also where our Patreon money goes because we like to pay for our news sources. If you're looking for a deeper dive on any of our creeps, it's a fabulous place to start. We also have a link to our Substack. We have a link to our merch shop where you can get t-shirts and tote bags, face masks. You could get a poster. You could get underoos. I don't know if you could get underoos, but that would be rad. That would be rad if we had What a Creep underoos. You could get all the things. There's also a link to our Patreon. You want to tell them about that, Margot?
Yes, Patreon. We are on season 25. This is our first episode for season 25.
25.
Hello. Hey-yo. We have our first 8 seasons, so I think we're going to have to put 9 up there. That's probably the thing I think it's going to happen.
25. That means we have one more season that our podcast can stay on our health care, and then I have to kick it off. Sorry, What a Creep podcast.
The podcast can, though, rent a car if it wants to. So
yes,
it's finally able to. Whew! It's been dragging around here, driving me crazy. Okay. We're being very silly right now. But I want to thank Emily for signing up for Patreon. Also, in addition to those episodes that are on our Patreon wall, we put out 2 bonus episodes a month where Sonia and I get together and shoot the shit and just talk about all kinds of things. And we have so much fun. So all of you that support us there, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yes. But if you want to find another way to support us, we love it when you leave reviews, especially in Apple Podcasts. Sonia, who do we have that left us a 5-star review?
Hoopla Cat left us a 5-star review. Thank you. It helps us find our people on that app.
Also, I want to thank people this week that signed up, that left comments in Spotify. Forgot to write your names down. I'm so sorry, but I do appreciate that. Spotify is great because you can leave a review and I can approve it. It's hard for me to find it after you've done so. So I want to apologize, but thank everybody that does that for us. Also, Good Pods. We're really high up there on the Good Pods rating. People use that app.
That's awesome.
That's so awesome. We really, really do appreciate it. Okay, I think that's everything.
Okay.
So, Sonia.
Yeah.
I'm so sad about this one because I was a huge fan of the Ben Stiller show.
Yep.
That's an early 90s, callback for all of you that, it was a comedy show that they did sketches, and the shit was so funny. And
so funny.
And Andy Dick is hilarious. He's very funny. I mean, he's good
when he wants to be.
When he wants to be, right. And NewsRadio, he was in NewsRadio. Yeah. He's been in a lot of things, and I want to support him, but his behavior is just off the rails. And it's Sonia was telling me off the air, like, the number of events that she's going to talk about today. It's just overwhelming.
The number of times this person has committed crimes and just walked away is staggering. I haven't seen a list like this probably since our Kevin Spacey episode. And
speaking of,
yeah, right. We could probably do a little update on Mr. Spacey.
We know our Brits have watched a BBC documentary that's going to be on HBO Max later here in America.
Yeah, and then maybe we'll record a new beginning and re-release that episode because, it's time. But today we're going to talk about Andy Dick. So some trigger warnings, y'all. There is some serious stuff in here. There's talk about addiction. We talk about suicide and his constant whipping it out. Like, the dude can't keep little Andy Dick in his pants. So sources for this episode: CBS News, Cracked, Entertainment Weekly, Looper, Page Six, People Magazine. Always love People Magazine. The website The Things, Vox, Yahoo News, and of course, always Wikipedia. You probably know Andy Dick from the sketch show, The Ben Stiller Show, which we already mentioned. So funny. He was on NewsRadio, also so funny. A show called Less Than Perfect, which I watched like one season of, and I was like, yeah, it was fine. And then he appeared in The New Adventures of Old Christine for a little while.
Oh, I never saw that.
I didn't watch that one consistently.
Was Sarah Rue in the other one that you mentioned?
Yes.
Yeah, my brother loved that show.
Yeah, she's a cutie.
Yeah.
She's a real cutie. But he is also famous for having a long history of harassing, groping, licking, and punching people, as well as whipping it out in public. He has struggled with drug and alcohol abuse. That is no excuse for this kind of behavior. And being an addict does not make you a creep. Let's make that very clear. But also, you don't get to hurt other people without repercussions. So keep that in mind. Let's start at the beginning. Andy Dick was born December 21st, 1965 in Charleston, South Carolina. He was adopted at birth by Alan and Sue Dick. I'm sorry, I'm going to say Dick so much in here, so just get over it. His father was in the Navy. They moved around a lot, so he lived in Connecticut, Pennsylvania, New York, Yugoslavia, before moving to Chicago in 1979. While in high school, he actually used that last name as like, it was a running joke. Like, one day he dressed up as like a superhero and he was like, I'm Super Dick, and like ran around the school. That's the way to handle it,
man. Use humor.
You have to embrace it. Yeah. You have to. He was very active in the theater, and he was elected homecoming king of his senior year in 1983, which I don't get homecoming king vibes from Andy Dick, but that's cool. Whatever.
But I bet he was class clown.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sure he was hilarious. After high school, he joined the Chicago-based theater group Second City, which obviously is super famous. He took improv classes. He was real young. I mean, we're talking about someone right out of high school joining these things. And he was really good at it. Like, he was known for it. In 1986, he got married. Again, he got married very young. There was a baby. They were divorced by like 90. So lasted like 4 years. They lived together for a while, even though they were divorced to raise the baby. But that's awkward. Later, he married movie producer Lena Savid, I think is how you pronounce it. And they have 2 children. They're not together anymore. We're going to talk about that in a little bit. So he moved to LA in 1988. And by 92, he is appearing on the Ben Stiller Show. Again, if you haven't watched it, watch it. Like some of the jokes you're going to be like, I don't get that joke. Like if you don't know who the Munsters are, you're maybe not going to get some of the jokes. But what a dream team. It was Andy Dick, Janine Garofalo, Ben Stiller, Bob Odenkirk. And in the writer's room, David Cross and Judd Apatow were in there. Like the show is hilarious, which is why it couldn't last.
The best, one of my favorites was Ben Stiller would play Bono, and Bono at bar mitzvahs.
So funny.
Oh,
it's just,
God.
it's super random, so funny. But it lasted one season on Fox, and I'm sure you can watch it on YouTube or whatever if you want to watch it. After that, he played a reoccurring character on Late Night with David Letterman. He showed up on The Nanny, and then he gets NewsRadio. That runs from 95 to 99. And if you haven't seen NewsRadio, also very, very funny. And it's, co-starred Phil Hartman, R.I.P.
Mm-hmm.
So funny. So his career was doing really well. But he had fallen into drinking and drugs, and he was spinning out of control. At one point, Chris Farley was his AA sponsor.
Oh my God.
Isn't that bananas? Bananas. On December 18th, 1997, Chris Farley dies. He overdosed in his apartment in Chicago. I was devastated.
Yeah, same.
Devastated when this happened. Almost no one on SNL made me laugh harder than Farley. I laughed so hard I was crying watching Farley skits. I was so bummed. So after that, he fell off the wagon. He was hitting it hard. He was doing all the drugs, and he went to a Christmas party at Phil Hartman's house. And while he was there, he met Phil Hartman's wife, Bryn. She was a recovering addict. She was 10 years sober, and Andy Dick convinced her to do cocaine with him.
Oh, Jesus.
Yes.
People were talking about this in our Facebook group. I wondered what this was about. Oh, yeah. Jesus.
So John Lovitz is the one who talks about this a lot in interviews, that Andy Dick brought cocaine back into her life, and she started doing cocaine. Now, I think a lot of us know where this is going. Eventually, Bryn, high on cocaine, murdered Phil and took her own life. And it's really fucking sad. Really sad. And John Lovitz is not shy about, and he feels that Andy Dick is responsible for this. So this gets awkward. John Lovitz was hired to replace Phil Hartman on NewsRadio.
Oh, wow.
So he's now replace is the wrong word. He's not taking over that character, but they introduce, he's taking that spot, right? And he tells Andy Dick, I wouldn't be here if you hadn't given Bryn coke in the first place. But then John Lovitz is I felt terrible about what I said. He apologized to Andy Dick for it, and Andy accepted his apology. And then in 2007, John Lovitz is at a restaurant, and Andy Dick comes up to him and he's like, I put a Phil Hartman hex on you. You're going to die. You're going to die next. Then he leaves. Later, Andy Dick and John Lovitz run into each other at the Laugh Factory in Los Angeles. And John Lovitz is like, you owe me an apology for talking to me like that. And Andy Dick refuses to apologize to him. And John Lovitz grabbed him by his shirt, slammed him into a bar. The doorman had to separate them. I know this now sounds like I'm talking about John Lovitz is the creep. I don't know if John Lovitz is a creep or not.
No, but he's also he's not a very tall guy, but we should say Andy Dick is very tiny as a person, almost frail. I could picture 5'6" John Lovitz just throwing him around.
They don't reconcile at any point, and I believe John Lovitz still is he's responsible. Even though he's responsible, is he responsible? No, Bryn's responsible for her own actions, but we have to address it because it's there,
right?
So
right, and people also, I should say at the time, I think we're still not great, but we're better at talking about addiction now, and that it is a disease, and people just are trying to figure out how to deal with it. And it was very easy at that time when people overdosed or died by suicide while on drugs for people to be like, oh, well, it's their fault. They just did it. They're just weak, blah, blah, blah. And it's...
Yeah.
No.
No.
It's so complex.
Yes, exactly. So less than a year after that, now Andy Dick is still spiraling. He's off and on sober throughout this, and he's been in rehab over 20 times.
Oh my God.
Yeah, he can't seem to stay sober. So less than a year after his death, Andy Dick and a friend of his, who was also an actor named David Strickland, who was on Suddenly Susan, like they go to Vegas and they spend, yes, these parts are rough, y'all. I think this is the end of this kind of talk. After that, it's super fun, him exposing himself and groping people. But anyway, they go to Vegas, just 3 days nonstop, strip clubs, drugs, all the things. While on that trip, David Strickland died by suicide, and Andy Dick was brought in for questioning, but he was released, and the death was ruled suicide. So I think this shows a path Andy Dick could have been on. Mm-hmm. He was surrounded by people who were making the wrong choices.
Well, they find each other because you don't want to be alone all the time. You want and no one wants to hang out with you because cocaine makes you so annoying. So you find other people. Yeah, if you like to drink, you go to the bar.
Yeah, like 2 months later, he's driving around in Hollywood, California, and he slams his car into a utility pole. He's charged with possession of cocaine. He's charged with driving under the influence of alcohol, drugs, hit and run driving, all these things. He pleaded guilty to felony cocaine possession. He had a misdemeanor. Oh, sorry. He also had pot on him, but that's not really he was charged at the time, but now they'd be like, whatever. He didn't do any jail time for this. He did an 18-month drug diversion program. What was going on with him and his addictions and his behavior did not impact his ability to get work. So in 2001, he's doing the Andy Dick Show on MTV. It was on for 3 years. I didn't watch.
Remember that for a second.
Yes.
And I used to watch MTV
me neither.
all the time.
I wrote the same thing too. I wrote. I don't remember it at all. After that, he did like a spoof reality show called The Assistant, and it was like making fun of things like The Apprentice and The Bachelor and Survivor and stuff. I didn't watch that one either. And then after that, he gets Less Than Perfect, which ran for 4 years. He's like in the middle of Less Than Perfect, actually. In December 2004, he's arrested for whipping it out at a McDonald's, like you do. I believe in France, they call that a royale with "Oh, bitch, please."
Hey-o.
Hey-o. Come for the creeps, stay for the jokes. The following year, 2005, Dick drops his pants and exposes little Andy Dick to the audience at the Yuck Yuck Comedy Club in Canada. Yuck Yucks is a real club, y'all. I did not make that up.
They all have wild names. Yeah.
They all have weird. It's like the Laugh Bucket. Like the Giggle Pit. They all have weird names. The Chuckle Hatch. Yuck Yucks is a real place. Also
Sorry,
in
Canada.
2005. Sorry, yes. In 2005, he goes on the Comedy Central roast of Pamela Anderson. He repeatedly gropes her.
Oh,
like
God.
he's like grabbing her breasts. He's like, I'm your he says he's playing as her plastic surgeon, but he just uses it as a reason to like grope her repeatedly. He also groped Courtney Love, who rightly was like, fuck that, and slapped him in the face. Like,
yeah, she doesn't play.
No, she doesn't play. Also,
she did mosh pits, y'all.
Yeah. Also, an early person who was like, I don't fuck with Harvey Weinstein. Mm-hmm. Like, she was doing red carpet interviews in the 90s going, don't follow Harvey Feinstein to his hotel. Weinstein, sorry.
Harvey Feinstein is fine. I'll follow him anywhere.
He's fine. Exactly. Sorry, everybody. So that all went wrong, but Comedy Central didn't learn their lesson because they invite him back the following year.
Of course.
For their roast of William Shatner, where he licked Farrah Fawcett, Carrie Fisher. How dare you, sir? How dare you put your tongue on Carrie Fisher without her permission? And Patton Oswalt.
Okay, Patton Oswalt had the best joke that day. I'll tell it to you now.
Oh, okay, tell me.
William Shatner roast. Patton Oswalt's up there. He takes out a paper bag and says, I dare you to act your way out of this thing.
Roasts are funny.
I
but
do.
I
yeah. Nikki Glazer, did you see that? The Tom Brady
I've seen
host?
Yes. I've only watched the Nikki Glazer clips, by the way.
Everybody else sucks, but she was great.
Yeah, she's hilarious, and this is making her quite the star right now, and that makes me happy because I think she's funny.
Yeah.
Also at that roast, he bit a New York Post reporter.
Which one?
I didn't write her name down.
Oh, okay. I wonder if she's like page 6 or something.
Oh, okay. Sorry. I'm sorry. I didn't write her name
that's
down.
all right. I'll look it up later. Okay. But just, Jesus Christ,
Yeah.
arrest him. I mean, you can't bite people.
Right?
What the fuck?
No, not arrested. Later that year, December 2006, he was performing at the LA Improv, and he just started dropping N-bombs for no reason. Nope. In February 2007, he goes on the Jimmy Kimmel show, and he had to be forcibly removed from the stage because he was groping Ivanka Trump. Groping her. Like, you can watch the videos on YouTube. Like, first of all, she sucks. We can all agree.
Yeah, but she doesn't deserve that shit.
No, she absolutely does not. And I suspect she's put up with way worse from her own father. But still, she does not deserve that. It's good on Jimmy for removing him. Like, but also, that's bullshit.
Why did he also invite him on? I mean, come on.
Yeah. She was on The Apprentice by then. So, no, she's promoting her show, I'm sure. But also, gross, Andy Dick. Keep your fucking hands to yourself. Following year, 2008. He is arrested for drug possession again and sexual battery because he pulled down the tank top and a bra 17-year-old girl outside of a Buffalo Wild Wings. This is like...
Can you say that again? Your audio went out for a second.
Oh, I am so sorry. He pulled down the tank top and bra of a 17-year-old girl outside of Buffalo Wild Wings. I've never eaten there. That's a child.
Yeah, no, and that's just disgusting. And
yeah, keep your hands to yourself, dude.
Jesus.
Like, yeah.
Did he get arrested?
So he did, and he pled guilty to misdemeanor battery. He also had marijuana on him. Again, no jail time. He got 3 years probation, $700 in fines, and he had to wear an alcohol monitoring bracelet for 1 year. He violated that probation 2 years later. In January 2010, he was arrested again for groping a bartender and a customer at a bar in West Virginia. The grand jury indicted him on 2 counts of sexual abuse. Surprise, no jail time.
I thought West Virginia would kick the shit out of him.
Right?
Yeah.
The criminal charges were eventually dropped because he participated in a diversion program. But the 2 survivors did file a civil suit, and it was settled out of court.
Good for them.
Yeah, good for them. In October 2010, he was at the Cafe Audrey in Hollywood, where he again whipped it out for no reason. No charges pressed. In January 2011, he's kicked out of the Adult Video Movie Awards. You know, like the AVN. Yeah, AVN Awards. It's an award show for adult movies.
Tell me something I don't know, Sonia.
hey, Margot goes every year. He was repeatedly groping some of the actors, including Tara Patrick and a drag queen named Chi Chi LaRue.
Not familiar with their work, but I'm sure they're
great. Me
great.
neither. I'm sure they're great.
Yeah.
So by this point now, he is so infamous in LA that the Upright Citizens Brigade group used to begin their LA shows by asking the audience 2 questions. First, they would ask those in attendance to raise their hand if they'd ever ridden an elephant. And then they would ask the audience to raise their hand if they had received unwanted sexual advances from Andy Dick. You will not be surprised to know which one got more hand raises. Like, it was a thing. Also in 2011, he went to the Newport Beach Film Festival, where he again whipped it out for no reason, pissed on a backdrop, and then pulled it down. He caused thousands of dollars of damage. Nobody called the police.
What? Jesus Christ.
Yes. A few months later, he goes on Greg Fitzsimmons' radio show and drops a whole bunch of anti-Semitic remarks about Howard Stern. I'm not even going to repeat them because we don't need that. And after all of this, He's done all the stuff that I just listed for you. He was asked to go on Dancing with the Stars.
Oh, my
God.
2013,
Andy Dick goes on Dancing with the Stars. I haven't watched the show. I've seen clips of Dancing with the Stars. I know what it is. But like, he came in 7th. I don't know if that's good or bad. He also, because he was on that ABC show, ABC also put him on Celebrity Wife Swap. And this is fucking bananas to me. Good news. We're going to swap your spouse with this repeated sex offender. What the fuck?
I'm sorry. I'm just like agog. I can't even.
There's more. There's more.
Wait, there's more.
There's more. October 2017, fired from a movie, an independent movie called Raising Buchanan, because of consistent inappropriate behavior on the set. This was from the Hollywood Reporter. He was groping. He was grabbing people's junk. He was kissing them, licking them, and like propositioning people who worked on the movie, at least 4 different people. So he got fired, and he was like, I must have kissed. He denied it. He's like, I don't do any of that. It's like, dude, we literally watched you do it on the fucking roasts. It's on film. Like, you have a behavior of doing this. He thinks it's funny. I think it's gross.
Yeah.
In the same month, he was also fired and kicked off the set for the film Vampire Dad. I've never seen that movie, but yeah. Again, same thing. Like, improper conduct, touching people,
how the
groping
fuck does he
people.
get gigs? There's so many actors who would love that job, be grateful for it, and wouldn't touch a fucking person, wouldn't take their pants down.
Exactly. In January 2018, his then wife, Lena, filed a restraining order against him to protect her and her kids because he was repeatedly having like drunken arguments with their son. Sometimes their son would like lock him out of the house because he was so drunk.
Yeah, that's what
they were scared of him.
Sleep in the driveway.
Yep. She also told a lot of stories of him being really drunk and arguing and like flipping over tables, breaking dishes, like all kinds of stuff. I'm like, I feel so bad for her, and I'm so sorry for those kids. He refuses to get help, and he does go into rehab, and then he just relapses. But again, like, addiction is no excuse for like this kind of shit. After that, June 2018, he is again charged with misdemeanor sexual battery for groping a woman in April. So that is out there. And then in October, nothing came of that, by the way. In October 2019, he grabbed the junk of an Uber driver, and the Uber driver was like, fuck you, and presses charges. He pleaded not guilty. So it's going to go to trial, but it doesn't go to trial for 2 years. So in that time, he continues to commit more crime. October 2019, he's pleaded not guilty at this trial. It's going to go to trial in 2 years. In the meantime, he's out committing all kinds of crimes. He groped a man, and then that man knocked him the fuck out.
Good.
And he actually was in the hospital, and he was being monitored for like a brain bleed because the guy knocked him out. In June 2021, he is arrested for assaulting a lover named Lucas. He beat him with a metal chair.
Jesus Christ.
Yes. Witnesses said that he almost killed this man. He was charged with felony assault with a deadly weapon. He was released from jail. He posts like a $50,000 bond to get out. He's still waiting for that other trial. May 10th, 2022, arrested again for felony sexual battery of a man in Orange County. Apparently, he was staying in a campground somewhere, and he allegedly molested a man while he was sleeping.
Oh, God.
You can't, right?
You know that whole thing about you're in the woods, you see a bear or a man, what's going to scare you more? Yeah, exactly.
If I see Andy Dick or a bear, I would choose the bear.
I choose the bear too.
Yeah.
Oh my God, what a pig.
Yeah. Eventually that case was dropped because the victim didn't want to cooperate anymore. He felt like the police were not being sympathetic. And
great.
Great.
Yeah. Great. This is why people don't report things, because
even men, by the way, this is a man who was like, I don't like the way that they're treating me. I'm like, yeah, dude. Yeah,
I get it.
So in October 2022, he is arrested again for felony burglary. He broke into a construction site in Santa Barbara and he was stealing power tools. That sounds like a fucking horror movie to me in the making. I don't know what he was doing. I don't know if he was planning to like sell them, or at no point am I getting the impression that he's hard up for money. So I don't know what that was about. So then November 2022, he finally goes to trial for grabbing the Uber driver's junk. And the jury's like, that totally sounds like something Andy Dick would do. So he's convicted. He gets a whopping 90 days in jail. And then he is released, and now he's required to register as a sex offender. Finally, he had to attend 72 sessions of like Alcoholics Anonymous. He had to pay money to the victim. He had to show proof that he was going to counseling, and he had to attend Sexual Compulsives Anonymous. None of that lasted very long. He was arrested again last year for public intoxication and failure to register as a sex offender. He was in Lake Elsinore in California. That's the last thing I could find about what Andy Dick is up to. I mean, you could go to his Twitter. He tends to just post random videos of him doing random things. I couldn't see that he was performing anywhere or working on anything. I want to make it very clear that, again, he's not a creep because of his addiction. He's a creep because of the
behavior.
The behavior that he does. And nobody's doing him any favors by like letting him just skate by and not. I almost feel like jail would be doing him a favor. I think Robert Downey Jr. has talked about this when he served jail time, and he was like, it forced him to like deal with his shit. Somebody should make Andy Dick deal with his shit. He has kids that are watching him. His kids, I mean. It's really fucked up. That's our creep, Andy Dick.
That's a good job, Sonia, but boy, he is gross.
So gross. Yeah. I had no idea that it was this bad when I started the research for this one. I was like, he's done some creepy things. This won't be... I didn't know it was going to go as dark as it did. Damn.
But you also, it's like, those are the ones we know about. There's so many people like...
Yes! Well, and these are the incidences that we know about. There's probably a ton of these stories about Andy Dick that we don't know, that weren't reported. So many of these are just... They resulted in no charges at all. Like, it's bananas to me that he continued to be released and continued no repercussions for a lot of the things that he did.
It's just like, especially, I was reading something about the Golden State Killer, and it turns out, I think we did an episode about him, or maybe we haven't, but he was somebody who was the Visalia ransacker or whatever he was, and he was a cop, and he would break into people's homes, and he was a peeping Tom, and then he would expose himself. And it's like, that shit, that behavior escalates. If you are not told not to do that, the way people just kind of shrug it off as just like a normal part of life is just like, Jesus, have some standards, y'all. Exactly.
Yeah. When I worked at the movie theater, we constantly, not constantly, it happened more than a few times, had to kick people out because they were taking it out at the theater. And I was always like, we should call the police. And like, they would never call the police. They would just run in there and kick them out. And I'm like, we should be calling the police.
Because they don't want to upset everybody. And they don't want to, that's the thing. The cops show up and then people are like, oh, I don't want to go to that theater. That's where the dudes take their dicks out. I don't want to do that.
Yeah. And they'd be right to say that, by the way. That theater doesn't exist anymore. So
thank goodness. Yikes.
Yes. Right. And that's why. No, that's not why. It's just, they just happened to close that theater.
Oh my God.
I'm ready to hear about someone who's not a creep.
Well,
please.
Sonia, your time has come. Sonia, we were going to just talking about the Ben Stiller show and how much we really enjoyed it. And so I was thinking of, who can we talk about that's, to follow Andy Dick, who, is not a creep, but also is funny and somebody you can feel good about supporting. We've done this before, and sometimes it blows up in our faces later. I hope it doesn't here.
Oh, I really hope not.
Robert John Odenkirk, otherwise known as Bob Odenkirk.
So good.
He is so great. I mean, everybody knows him from Saul Goodman, Better Call Saul, Breaking Bad, like two of the best shows ever. Mm-hmm. I used to love Mr. Show with Bob and David. He
funny.
Partnered with David Cross. He was born 1962, Berwyn, Illinois. He's a Midwest guy. And he's somebody who grew up in a home where his father was an alcoholic and behaved so awfully. It was that he basically set himself up to not be a drinker or not to be an addict. Like nobody can, things can happen. But it was very important to him to not fall into those kind of traps. He's worked for Saturday Night Live. He worked for Ben Stiller, Late Night with Conan O'Brien. He was on the Larry Sanders Show. He's in the comedy duo Tim and Eric. He is just this amazing. He was in Little Women.
I couldn't believe it when Bob Odenkirk showed up in Little Women. I was like, what?
He was in the first season of Fargo, the TV series. That was
so
excellent.
Good.
I mean, he just has this very long career. He really believes in helping, his friends out and helping, rising tide lifts all boats kind of thing. Mm-hmm. He's known to be very generous with people, hiring the same people over and over again, or just like working with different people to help them out, because he has like this. Everyone loved Saul. Everyone loved those shows.
Yes.
And he's very generous with his time. The last thing I could tell, because I just typed in Bob Odenkirk and charity, and I kept getting these, no, you cannot give me notifications deadline. They think everything is so important.
I hate that.
God. He's going to... have you ever seen The Room with Tommy Wiseau?
I have not seen it, but I know what it is.
It's one of the worst movies ever made, but it's also like so bad it's fun because it's just so stupid. And he's going to do... It's called Acting for a Cause. I don't know if they've already done this. I mean, like I said, this is from last year, but what they do is they have a green screen and actors like take over certain parts of a movie and they recreate it.
Oh my gosh.
So I can't wait to see this, but he's always doing stuff like that. He's always being just very generous with his talents. He did have a massive heart attack a few
that was
years
so
ago,
scary,
and he almost died. And he was very lucky that CPR was used right away. It's called the Widowmaker, what he had, and I know other people who've lived through it and who haven't. If you have any kind of a heart condition, you've got to be serious and you have to be on top of it. They put a couple of stents in. He's okay. He's going to be with us for a while. He always took care of himself too. He was actually rather surprised because he took care of his health. But
and when that happened, like the outpouring of love that came out for anyone who ever worked with Bob Odenkirk had a story about what a delight he is, what a generous person he is, how funny he is.
He's a good
cool
egg,
dude. A good egg.
I hope so. We don't curse people with this. I mean, we really no. So he's married to Naomi Yomtov. They've been together since 1997. They have 2 kids. And he's just, I don't know, he's a good dude. And he was somebody that also, my favorite bit that they did on Ben Stiller was Ask Manson, where he would dress up like Charles Manson and they'd ask him questions like, how do I get ring around the collar? He'd be like, ring around the collar, man. Let me tell you about rings and collars. It was so fucking hilarious. So sharp. Just a real talent.
If you can, I think Mr. Show was on HBO.
Max?
So if you have Max, you could probably watch Mr. Show, which also I think was then the spinoff of Mr. Show was Tenacious D's stuff, which was also so funny.
And Paul F. Tompkins was on there. I mean, there's some really great people that are a part of that. So Tenacious D, they would be good non-creeps. I think they're not creepy.
I think I think that is correct. I've only heard good things about Jack Black as well.
So that's our non-creep this week. Excuse me, Bob Odenkirk.
Good choice, my friend.
Thank you, my friend. And if you like the sound of our voices and you like movies, you're in luck. Because we have a podcast called Dorking Out, where we dork out about movies. Currently, we are dorking out about, in our latest episode...
Oh my God, what was it?
Oh, Moneyball.
Moneyball. We are getting romantic about baseball. That's right.
So this week,
fun.
Sonia, what's going to be our next episode?
It's Wayne's World. It's Wayne's World. Party time. Excellent.
We are covering Wayne's World.
It's going to be so fun.
Since day one that I joined the show. So we're really, really excited about that. That's Dorking Out. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss that or miss any episodes. Please subscribe to this show. Once again, if you want to leave a few stars, that'd be amazing, or a review, or just tell a friend about the show, or ask for a sticker, put it on your laptop, go to the coffee.
Yeah, you'll be so cool. Your friends will be so jealous.
We are always taking suggestions for creeps and for non-creeps, so either join the Facebook group or reach out to us on all those social media places that we announced before. Our email, once again, is whatacreeppodcast@gmail.com. And Sonia, where can they find you?
You can find me at thesoniashow.com and The Sonia Show on Twitter and Instagram and TikTok and Blue Sky and Threads. Where can people find you, my friend?
You could find me on TikTok and Twitter at Brooklyn Margot. And then my site is actually Brooklyn Fit Chick. And that's where you could find me for Threads and Instagram. And I think Blue Sky, but I haven't checked that in a while. Okay, everybody. That is the show this week. We will have a new creep next week. We're already gearing up for that. In the meantime, y'all, be kind, be safe. Don't be a creep.
Creep. Thank you for listening to us talk about creeps. You can follow us at What a Creep Podcast on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
But don't follow us too closely.
You can email us your creepy stories at whatacreeppodcast@gmail.com.
But please keep your dick pics to yourself.